The two values that I chose, and what does Cole say about them, is action and work orientation, and then time and its control. And in terms of time and control, Americans tend to be very time focused and be very punctual and see it as a sign of disrespect when people are late to things. And in terms of action and work orientation, Americans don't like to stay idle. They like to constantly keep themselves busy and have a very heavy work ethic associated with their lives. I do agree with most of Cole's descriptions in terms of the time focused. I do agree that this fits American values because Americans tend to always want to be punctual and be early to things, but in my personal experience, I'm not very punctual, and a lot of my friends and family aren't, but I think that's more of a cultural thing because I'm part of an immigrant family, and just in Indian culture, generally showing up like 30 minutes late to a function is kind of a standard, and that tends to be a lot of the people that I surround myself with. But I definitely cannot live without my Apple Watch, and I tend to like to be in control of my time, always know what time it is, have access to that, and also set alarms and things like that. And he mentioned concepts of delayed gratification in the end, and I don't particularly agree with that perspective on Americans because I find that many of my American friends tend to love to treat themselves and indulge, at least more than I know immigrant families too. And in terms of the action and work orientation value, I also have a similar perspective on the work ethic. I find that Americans are workaholics and their jobs are in their lives in a way that other cultures don't really have, where like in other cultures, your job is kind of just your job, whereas Americans kind of view your job as where your passion is. But in other cultures, your job isn't meant to be your passion, it's just your job, and you should have passions outside of work. So I definitely do agree with Cole's perspectives in that category. In terms of fitting these into the values that Americans live by, this is an example of one of my roommate's Google Calendars, and this is an example of one of my Google Calendars. And as you can see, it's very filled. I like to keep myself busy and also plan everything out in my schedule kind of to a T. And how do I think these values will apply to my host city, and will they be the same or different from Cole's descriptions of Americans? And do I anticipate any tension with my own beliefs or way of living? So in terms of time and control, I do definitely like to plan a lot, and I think that in Switzerland, people are definitely detail-oriented and also like to schedule out things, so I don't anticipate this being much of a problem. And I don't think that this will have any issues in terms of my ways of living abroad, because I kind of like to be independent with my schedule, especially when it comes to school. And I don't think that will end up being some sort of cultural issue. In terms of action, Americans definitely like to keep themselves more busy than other cultures. For example, they tend to have a lot of extracurriculars in a variety of areas, whereas the Swiss focus more on career-oriented programs. So I'm curious to see abroad what extracurriculars I'll be able to get involved with, because on campus I tend to be heavily involved with extracurriculars in a variety of areas. I don't know if I anticipate that being a problem, because obviously in just one semester I can't really get too involved with extracurriculars, but I do know that the Swiss enjoy many outdoor activities like skiing and hiking, which I am very excited for, and hopefully that will sort of balance out traveling, doing outdoorsy activities. I know that they have that focus, which is what I'm looking for in my opportunities abroad over extracurriculars, so I don't anticipate that being a big problem. Another cultural difference in terms of like keeping yourself busy in time, even on vacation, Americans tend to keep themselves busy with activities, which I can definitely see applied in my vacation life. I like to constantly be trying new things, exploring new places, but in a lot of other cultures, especially Switzerland, it's common for employees to have a minimum of 4 weeks of paid vacation a year, which is mandated by Swiss labor laws. They definitely have more of a relaxation attitude when it comes to working, and I'm assuming in vacation as well. But the university I'm going to is particularly known for being rigorous, so I'm not exactly sure what to expect there, but I'm expecting a sort of balance in terms of academics and work.